Are leaving our room in AVS, and then the caretaker's just doing a double check. It's 5 a.m. in the morning and we will be heading out to Munnar soon, and I am exhausted. So we just had to settle the bill really quickly. Just went down to the admin department. Things were very proper. They had the complete breakdown of the bill. And this is the part about this institution that I wish I told you guys about before, which is the price that you get is not the set price. So you might actually end up getting charged much less than what is quoted, in which case they will deduct it from your total bill. For example, like every time you finish a treatment or every time a medication is brought to your room, you are also given a bill to go with it. At first I was kind of ignoring the bill. It wasn't really a big amount. It was like 300, 400 rupees, which is like, I don't know, like $9. So I wasn't really paying attention to it, but I did kind of just keep it in a drawer. And before I went down to the admin department, I kind of added it all up, went downstairs, and it turned out that like my treatments and my medication costed much less than what they quoted. So I ended up actually getting like about a 30 or 40,000 rupee refund. Whereas with mum's treatment, because like the stuff they had to do with her like was more expensive, she actually ended up having to pay a little bit more than what was expected. So you don't actually feel ripped off or anything, because they break it down really clearly and you can kind of just look at it, and they let you just have a look at it at the admin department, and then you kind of just make sense of it. Now, typically they're very proper, like, and I would say you don't even have to bother checking the bill. I wasn't actually going to check the bill, but in a way I'm kind of glad that I had my persistent self switched on, because well, it was nothing. It was actually like all of $3 or $4 that I was overcharged. So I was charged for laundry 167 rupees, when in reality I hadn't done laundry at all. While I was there, I just kind of washed my own stuff with detergent powder that mum brought from the marketplace. Kind of what everyone else was doing as well. They brought their own detergent powder, washed it, and then hung their clothes in the room. So they charged me for laundry, and I was like, oh, hold on a second, I didn't do any laundry. And then they made a few phone calls and found out that, you know, they'd actually charged me for the previous person who stayed in my room's laundry. So that was like the smallest stitch up, and 167 rupees, but like I ended up getting it refunded anyway. Like, for the most part, like honestly, if not for that, I would, you know, swear to you that like everything is really accurate. That's what everyone's told me, everyone who's been here multiple times before. So like I said before, you're only given a sort of ballpark figure. You might end up getting some things refunded, or you might actually end up getting charged a little bit more. Personally, I actually was expecting a big bill, because they were changing my medication constantly. But they were very proper. Like, they only charged me for the medication that I used and for the number of days that I used it for. So they weren't kind of careless and being like, oh, you know, you opened this bottle, so you're gonna have to charge you for the whole bottle, sort of thing. Anyway, we also ordered all the medication that we had to take back. So some people get medication for a month. Some people get 3 months of medication. In my case, I had 6 months of medication. But when I made a calculation, I think it was all up like $250 for 6 months worth of medication. And I was like, wow, that's 2 visits to a specialist in Melbourne. So 100% yes, I'll pay $250 for 6 months worth of medication. And so one of the therapist guys brought all the medication up to our room, and he had it in like a proper, like a very sturdy box. And then we just had to rearrange things around and like, you know, make sure that, I guess, it doesn't all spill, because it would have been like 2 boxes of oils, and it would have been really shit if it all spilled. So yeah, so like we just had to rearrange all the medication. Hey guys, what's up? I'm just sitting at the balcony of the hotel with a cup of tea, because that's what I always wanted to do. We're leaving Munnar today. Just thought I'd give you a quick run through of everything that we've done in our time here, which was quite short. It was pretty much 24 hours, but I mean, if you've seen stuff like this in the past, I would say that like it is something that can be done pretty quickly.
So we left the hospital at about 4:30ish, I think 5 o'clock. We needed an exit pass from the caretaker, and we headed out, slept on the road for a little bit, and then the driver stopped like in the middle of nowhere going like, this is the only place to eat for the next like hour or something, so we can get breakfast here. It was pretty reasonable, but it wasn't the best food, but like whatever, it was just like a pit stop. So we got out, took our medicines and stuff, like our before meal medicines, and then went to eat, but then I just felt really sick. So when I threw up everything, like a lot of food, and came back, had like a dosa, mum had pittu, puttu is what they call it here, and the tea wasn't that great, so we were pretty disappointed that we're going to like a tea-ish area that didn't have the best tea. Having said that, I need to cut them some slack because it was probably just a shitty restaurant. On our way there, mum felt sick as well. She felt like she had to throw up, and I would say it was less motion sickness and more to do with the fact that we were outside doing a big trip in a like for the first time in a while, and it just like everyone's been complaining about it. Like I said before, there was this French girl that I knew who did panchakarma, and she was complaining about the same thing, like either feeling sick or having a really bad headache or just not feeling too great. And then there was this other guy, he was like from Japan, he was also complaining about the same thing. That was just like 7 days after treatment. Like the French girl was like 21 days after, and we were like 20 days after. So everyone has been complaining about the same thing. So I would really recommend maybe like chucking in a rest day or taking things easy. But if like me, you're gonna like kick yourself in the butt if you don't go check out these places, then just sort of brave through it, because I guess I still didn't feel like terrible or like dysfunctional. Yeah, and then we came up to Munnar. Initially, I was pretty disappointed with how the hotel looked. So it was like we had to enter this private road, and it was a beautiful drive, like just tea estates and like a waterfall. Really narrow road, but an amazingly beautiful view. So I was pretty upset about it because we were quite looking forward to like staying in a resort like place. But then it turned out that there was just the security quarters, so then we had to take another turn in and came in, and it was a gorgeous hotel. I'll chuck in some pictures, videos, whatever it is that I have. It was a really beautiful hotel. That's the entrance of the hotel, which is majestic. Hello. I'm just gonna walk down and show you guys. So that's where the rooms and stuff are, and this is the view, the tea time view that they've got. I'll also check in another video that's pretty incredible. But yeah, mum and I did a whole round of Munnar today. It was pretty full on, but pretty amazing. I would strongly recommend it. I will chuck in a few snippets of stuff that we did today, and yeah, that's about it. Alright guys, so they've let us in our room. It's really cute, it's quaint, but I mean, I really like it. I really hope quaint's a real word, because I've been using it a lot. And I mean, I've already been in here, but like, check this out. It's mum there, and this is our view. So we came in, had our tea, dropped our baggages. We had another tea again, pretty disappointed in it, but again, could just be shitty tea made by the, like maybe it might just be the person who made the tea. Then we headed to a place. So first we like sort of drove around where our hotel was, because it's very close to a waterfall called Kottakkal waterfall. It might be Kottakkal or Kottakkal. I've seen both those spellings and I'm not sure which one's right. I would really recommend that if you're coming here to try, and if you're going to hire a car, I would recommend hiring a four-wheel drive, because no one told this to me, and I guess I just didn't look it up. But we took like a normal, like small hatchback, and then the guy was complaining about going through small roads, saying that like it's really shitty roads, bad conditions, maybe you should hire a four-wheel drive over here. And it just felt like a bit of a waste of money, considering the fact that we'd already paid him to drive us around, and then we were going to go pay someone else to drive us to the same places. So we didn't actually end up doing that. But if you want to, I would say maybe just hire it from wherever you're coming from, instead of coming here and paying twice for it. yeah, so we sort of went around the waterfall area. We couldn't go all the way down, but then there was also so like the tea estates are usually like covered with barbed wires, but then there are a few wires there are a few wires that are there are a few estates that are not wired. So it was really cute. Like there was like a sort of like a bunch of steps that you could walk down, and you could walk through the tea, which was really nice. And it was a really private area, because I don't think it's like it's a particular tour, like it's a particular spot. I don't think it's necessarily owned by one of the big companies. So it was just by chance that we stumbled upon it and just took some really cute pictures there. Then we went across to this place called Kottakkal Viewpoint. Is that where we went? Yeah, we went to Kottakkal Viewpoint. And when we went there, again, beautiful view, a few tourists there as well.
So this is the Kottakkal Viewpoint, which is really gorgeous, but to be honest, you do see this view like all through the city. And we just stopped here for a bit just to take a couple of pictures, and we also ran into this taxi driver who was very helpful, and getting tea from here as well. And yeah, like all these tourists out here trying to get their tea, get photos and stuff like that.
We had a really good tea. It was like cardamom tea. So again, like I said, it was probably like the bad tea was probably just like made by someone who didn't know how to make tea. And if you're not as picky as me, maybe you would like it. I don't know. But yeah, and then after Kottakkal Viewpoint, we just headed to like the Munnar city. Personally, I wouldn't like. I did look at a few hotels there, and I was really glad that I didn't book there, because it's just very towny. It's not as like peaceful as, you know, it's one of the other more hidden places. Having said that, when you book a hotel in Munnar, you'll notice that there are a lot of options, but make sure that you check it against the map to see how long it would take you to get there, because even if it says like 10 kilometers, sometimes it's like a 1.5 hour drive to get to the place that's just 10 kilometers away because of the windy, bad condition roads. So keep that in mind, because I definitely saw a lot of very beautiful hotels for much cheaper than what we paid over here. But when I was like, oh, maybe I'll just brave through like an 1.5 hour drive, etc. But after coming here and not feeling so great, I'm really glad that we don't have to travel hours to get to different spots. And instead, like, this was a really good spot because everything was kind of close to each other. So I would recommend that if you're booking a hotel, make sure you check it on a map against all the attractions, just to make sure that you're not coming here like on a limited amount of time and then just trying to like, you know, you're just being really tired trying to see everything. After the viewpoint, we headed to the Munnar town, like I said, and I just have this theory that, you know, you'll taste the best food in a small restaurant, like that's not fancy and all of that. So if you've got a weak stomach, maybe go to a fancy restaurant. For me, I think I'm okay, even though everyone says I've got a weak stomach. I think I prefer eating in a place that's really tasty and like really authentic food. So I picked like the smallest place that I could see that was still having a crowd. So there were a lot of small places, but then you got to pick the place where you see a lot of locals in it. I'm sure some of most of you would know this already. Honestly, that was amazing, but at what cost? And then we also got some ginger tea. It was really, really good. And we've also run into these two kids who told us that they actually speak Tamil here. So very surprising to know that they speak Tamil over here, and that so beef is a bit of a controversial topic in India, we've been told by our Malayali friends, but we've also been told that Kerala is the only place that you can kind of ask it and not be looked at really weirdly. Still, we have been a little bit more sensitive and been looking out for names that sound, you know, less like religious-y, and kind of just going for the ones that have like a halal sign or like a picture of like Jesus Christ. But it's so spicy, and I don't know if it's our Ayurvedic diet that's just kind of pushed like completely like knocked me off the spice ballpark, but I'm just struggling. But it was so good. I'll check a picture of it in here soon, but we just got like a beef fry and then just like a fish curry, but without coconut, as recommended by our Malayali friends, with paratha and chapati. Chapati was amazing, but we know that it was cooked with a lot of oil, unlike the ones that we've been having at the hospital. So obviously a bit of a cheap meal, but we'll try to be good for the rest of today. After that, we headed to, is that the viewpoint? We headed to this place, I think I just burped on camera, but we headed to this place called Photo Point, which is also like a really picturesque spot that was filled with tourists, so many tourists. I wouldn't say it's, you know, like a one-of-a-kind sort of experience. Like, it is a one-of-a-kind experience if you haven't seen tea estates, but, you know, if like me, you've kind of just been driving around for half of the day looking at estates, the Photo Point is just one of those places. So, you know, don't try to crowd around that area when you can just drive around the city itself and look for like more private tea estates, like as in less crowded tea estates. We didn't go on a tea estate tour, we didn't go to the tea museum or tea gardens because we've been to so many of them before in Sri Lanka. And also, like, I'm not really interested in like how the factory side of things go, considering the fact that, like I said, I've seen it so many times before. But yeah, so that was one thing that we skipped that might have saved us a lot of time. So if you've never seen that before, then I would recommend going and seeing it. After the Photo Point trip, we just sort of hung around there, took a few photos, etc. And then we headed to this place called Matupedi Dam. I'm definitely not saying that right. I'm not even like not sure. But yeah, so in Matupedi Dam, like, it's a beautiful dam. Like, it looked a little bit like New Zealand to me. Like, it reminded me of all these photos of Queenstown that I've seen before. I'm sure that Queenstown is a different type of beautiful, but this was a very beautiful site. Matupedi Dam and Kandala Lake are two different spots in Munnar that are quite far from each other, but I've been told that if you see one, you've seen the other. So, you know, whatever's closer to you, that's probably where you should go. It's a very famous like filming location. Again, a lot of tourists over there. So that was Matupedi Dam. We have been told that they've got like speedboats, family boats, shikaras, stuff of the like. And we were really interested in going down that way because apparently this is a really popular, like, even movie shooting spot. But then, yeah. And then Mom's warning me because there's like barely a pavement here, and she's like, don't get run over by a vehicle. But we remembered that we had just been on a houseboat, so maybe we'll just go to the elephant park and try seeing an elephant instead. We thought it would be a bit like bigger. It was quite like, it was just like 3 elephants in like one area, but it was still really, really nice to just watch them eat pineapples. And just like the way they're treated, I think it's quite cute because, so firstly, apparently the government's passed a law or something that doesn't allow elephant rides anymore, which is great news. But also, like, just the way the employees treat the elephants, it's with a lot of respect from what I saw. Like, I just saw it for like 15 minutes, but it was just like, there was someone feeding the elephant and then he dropped the food on the floor, picked it up and tried to feed it to the elephant again. And they, you know, like, told him off for it and told him not to do that and not to feed the elephant dirty food. So I thought it was quite cute that, like, you could respect the animal as much as you would respect a person, I guess. So that was also really, really good. And then after that, you know, it was just, if you look at the attractions in Munnar, it's all tea estates, it's all viewpoints, it's all waterfalls. So for me personally, I felt like seeing, you know, one or a few of those was enough, and I didn't actually want to go check every single one of them out. So we rushed back home pretty quickly. Like, we were home by like 4:30ish. And then just had tea and we're just sort of lying around, resting, catching up. We didn't feel like we'd rushed to any of the attractions, but it was just really good to have that extra time. Also, like, we had to, so a part of recovery with the AVS treatment is to make sure that you're sticking to the medicines and sticking to the oil treatments for like 3 months. But the most important part is the 2 weeks right after, the 2 to 3 weeks right after your treatment. So it also involves applying the oils on yourself, even though you can't massage it as well as they do. Just apply it on yourself and keep it on your skin for like an hour before you shower. So that was another thing that we did as well. We had to come back, sort of rest for a bit, and then put our oils on and just sit around with our oils. before we washed ourselves, and we've been told by so many people that that is the most important recovery part. So we're just trying our best to stick with it.
So we checked out of our hotel in Munnar today, just grabbed breakfast at the hotel itself, paid our bills, and on our way back to Cochin, we wanted to stop by some plantations. It was mostly spices and coffee. There were a few places that did this deal. It was a really fun experience, and I'm really glad I went, because that, like, you know, it was a few minutes in the SUV, which was still a different experience. Just heading from the plantation towards our car again. Unfortunately, I was out of memory and therefore couldn't record the spices, but Mum did get some pictures, so I'll chuck that in here. So that pretty much concluded our trip in Munnar, and we headed back to Kochi, but unfortunately our driver got lost along the way, so it was such a long-winded journey that should have really been less than 3 hours. But we eventually got to our hotel, checked in, and we just crashed there for the night. So New Year's Eve wasn't all that exciting. It was really just staying in bed.